Okay, so now I'm on my laptop and I've opened Finder to the folder containing the generated code files that I airdropped from Layout Studio to my laptop. In Layout Studio, under the generated code files, there's a link to a template repository. You'll also find this link in the video description. Copy this link and open your web browser and navigate to this link and make sure you're signed into GitHub so that you can see the Use This Template button. Select Use This Template, then select Create a New Repository, and I'm going to name my repository iOS TV App Demo. And I'm going to set the visibility to private, then I'll select Create Repository so that it copies this repository into my GitHub account. The next thing we want to do is to get this repository onto my laptop. So in order to do that, I'm going to select the Code button, and it gives me a bunch of different terminal commands I can use to clone this repository locally. I'm going to use the CLI command because I've already set up the GitHub CLI in terminal. So I'm going to select the copy button to copy the command, and I'm going to open terminal, and then I'll paste the command and hit enter, and that copied the repo to my laptop. So I'm going to open the directory where I'll find the repo, and ls to show the files that are in there, and the file that I'm most interested in is the Xcode project. So I'm going to type open Layout Studio Xcode app Xcode project and hit enter so that this project opens in Xcode. If you look at the files under sources, you'll see that they're empty. That's because we haven't copied the generated code files into our cloned repository. So I'm going to right-click on one of the files under sources and select Show in Finder. I'm also going to open the folder that contains the airdropped code files, and then I'm going to select all the airdropped code files and drag them into sources and replace all the files under sources with my generated code files. So now if I just go to another file, you'll see that all the files have been updated and they all contain lots of code that was generated in Layout Studio. You can even see under the custom section decoration view, you can see the light and dark colors are represented as color literals, so you can see them right away in Xcode, as you would expect to see them on a device. If you have Xcode 15 or later with the iOS 17 or later SDK, all you have to do is choose a device you want to run it on. I'm going to do a simulator so that I can show you the result, and then you just press play to build the app and run it on the simulator. I'm going to switch to light mode so you can see the app better. And there we go. As you expected, the first section contains full screen width cells, and they only scroll one at a time. The next two sections, these are our bigger width cells. The next three sections contain smaller width cells. And notice how all the cells, no matter which section they're in, are lined up at the leading boundary. Section 7 has our round circular cells with our special background. And when I go back to dark mode, you'll see that the color updates to a darker color. In Layout Studio, the section headers had subtitles. How do I get those to show up in the generated app? I'm going to search for subtitle, and I can see under viewcontroller.swift it says uncomment to show header subtitle. So I'm going to uncomment that. I'm going to run it. And now you can see that the headers have subtitles. In Layout Studio, the generated, like the preview layout had images. Well, every app has different data and content. The purpose of Layout Studio is to customize the layout. Your job will be to customize the data and content that's presented in your app. But to help you, every single generated code project from Layout Studio has an example of how to asynchronously load data, and fortunately that example uses images, so I can show you what that loading looks like and how you might code it. So if you go to viewcontroller.swift in the generated project, there's a line under cell registration that says remove this line to display an image. So I'm going to delete this line, and that will let the code that loads an image asynchronously run. If you go to this method, you'll see it calls fetchImage, and fetchImage randomly waits 1 to 10 seconds to return the final image. And so you'll see that the image should change from a loading image to the final image, which is a smiley face. So now that I've removed that line, I'm going to press play to run the updated project. So now you can see as the cells are presented, they go from the loading image, which is our gear, to the final image, which is the smiley face. And fetchImage is only called once you actually scroll to a cell, so that if you have a very big layout, not all the items are loaded at once. So these all start out as gears, but eventually they become smiley faces. If you want to update what the cells look like you want to have the title label, the labels of the cells to be at the bottom leading edge, like you might see in the TV app, then the way you do that is you go into customcell.swift and you look at how the title is being set. So when you set the cell title in the cell registration handler that I showed you under viewcontroller.swift, it updates the content configuration, and when the content configuration changes, the content view that's actually displayed in the cells updates its content. So the title is read from the content configuration and used to configure the title label. If you want to change the placement of the label, you update the layout stack or set different auto layout constraints. Another thing I mentioned is that some layouts show images as the section background. So in order to show an image, instead of showing different colors as the background layer of your section, like we can see here, it's blue and green, you might want to have a view that shows a different image, and that will make it look more like the TV app. But that's up to you. So hopefully this has been helpful, and I wish you luck in designing your apps. If you have any questions, I'm going to show you where you can find help. Tap Layout Studio. Under Generated Code Files, there's a link to an issues page. just open that issues page, select new issue, and I'll get back to you there. Thanks for watching.